Hi, it's Jeff.
And Denise from Mousesteps.com.
And this is episode number 269.
269.
Of Mousesteps Weekly.
Sponsored by MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. There are special discount offers for Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Studios Orlando. Check their website. They have all kinds of information on the MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel site, and you can sign up for their newsletter.
Not to mention international travel.
Yes, and like Disneyland Paris.
That's right. We are currently in Disneyland Paris. We've recorded this show in advance, and we're going to talk all about Knott's Berry Farm and other things. But worldwide travel.
And Toy Story Land in Florida is about to open. So much going on in Pixar Pier in California. There's places to go, and they can help you get there.
So as we mentioned, we are at Disneyland Paris right now. Very exciting. But we've recorded this show in advance, and we're going to talk all about Knott's Berry Farm, which is also very exciting.
Yes. I mean, I was like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm not really in Disneyland Paris right now, but when this comes out, we will be. But Knott's Berry Farm is only 7 miles from Anaheim, and we really enjoy this park so much. And we're going to talk about Disney connections and just everything.
But how can you go wrong? We're starting off with the Fun Bun. You've been waiting years for this Fun Bun.
Yes. See, okay, the Fun Bun originated for the Boysenberry Festival. And I mean, there's this whole big story about it. You know, they didn't even plan to call it the Fun Bun. And Lady, who was in PR, she used to be the PR person, she was like, you should call it the Fun Bun. And they're like, well, maybe.
I never realized that either, but I guess Fun Bun is sort of it's a cross between a funnel cake and a cinnamon bun.
Yes.
Deep fried. A fun bun.
They were going to call it the deep fried cinnamon bun, which totally, it tells you what it is, but it's not nearly as fun a name.
Not nearly as fun. Look at this thing.
I had no idea how big this was going to be. I just know for the last 3 years, I've wanted one, and you can't always get it. Like, this window's not always open.
Look at this, is massive. I had to have you be in the picture to show the gigantic size. And you can already see some of the sugar blowing onto your nice shirt there. Yes. And I should mention a little pro tip, don't start off your day with a trip to In-N-Out Burger for a double-double if you think you're going to be having a fun bun anytime soon.
We did split this among 3 people and probably didn't finish it. It's really big.
Look at that. Oh, boy.
But the thing is, I was so scared that window was going to close. I did not want to be like, walk away from it and say, okay, well, we'll come back in an hour or two and then it be closed, because this is not here, to my knowledge, every single day. So
right. This was high priority for us.
I just know the last time we went to Knott's, it was like, okay, well, whatever the window is at that time was closed. So anyway.
Now we're over to Camp Snoopy. Yes, definitely get the Fun Bun. These guys, Charlie Brown here, he would love the Fun Bun.
Yes, we had a great time. Camp Snoopy is a 6-acre land, and there's so many attractions for kids. But when we were there, they had about 6 of the Snoopy characters out, and I had wanted
full credit to you.
Beagle Bucks.
Yes, Beagle Bucks.
I had actually looked on. We're just talking to the characters here. I had wanted to buy gift cards to give to the people who do correspondence over at Knott's. And I couldn't find those online, but I read that they had this thing called Beagle Bucks, and they're like Disney dollars, and they've got Snoopy on them. And I'm like, okay, well, I really want these Beagle Bucks.
Well, let me tell you, those Beagle Bucks were the hit of the day. You saw Snoopy; he almost ran away with the Beagle Bucks, and because he's on it, they are Beagle Bucks. But I talked to Charlie Brown here, Mr. Brown. I told him that Charlie should have a bill too, and I think he agreed with that.
And I think it's a character based on Snoopy. I forget the name. There's actually a name for the character who's on there with the mustache. But anyway, it was really fun to show it to them, and they really played it up. But if you go to Knott's Berry Farm, I mean, we ended up keeping our Beagle Bucks. So you know, we ended up with $6.
Yeah,
There's
after all this, I will not spend my Beagle Bucks. They're in a book now. I put them in a photo book.
But if you have kids, I mean, it's kind of a fun way to say, here's $10 or whatever, go buy yourself something.
I have never met Woodstock before. I've met all the other Peanuts characters that we're seeing today, but this was my very first Woodstock experience, so I thought that was really nice.
This was just a very nice area. I don't know if they do this all the time. I had never been back here to Camp Snoopy. Knott's Berry Farm is a very big park, and there's so many different areas, and they feel like totally different areas from each other.
Well, here's a little tip. This meet and greet with all the characters happens directly after the show, and the little show happens right next door to where this meet and greet is. So if you watch the show, if you leave maybe a few minutes early, or if you just skip the show and line up to meet the characters,
There was
and
nobody.
then see the show after, as soon as the characters come over there, it fills up really fast.
I think the show's called Happy Campers.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
And I had looked up, I think Knott's is 160 acres is what I found, and this is 6 acres of it. Again, there's so many different, like if you just want to ride roller coasters, you can. If you just want to do family stuff, you can. The Ghost Town area reminds me of like Big Thunder Ranch when it was at Disneyland. There's just so many different things to see.
Well, speaking of sort of a Disneyland-ish connection, we're going to start here with the Calico Mine Train ride.
So the Calico Mine Train ride, this was the first attraction to have like an indoor themed queue. And even Walt Disney came over because this was, Walter Knott was like friends with Walt Disney, and Walt would come over here and he was like surprised by the queue. So you can see like everywhere now, like at Disneyland, Walt Disney World, different parks, that the Knott's Berry Farm is the one who kind of invented that indoor queue like that.
Well, I just love this ride. This is just such a great, fun family ride. Anybody can go on it. And it reminds me of what it must have been like years ago at Disneyland, because they had a similar train ride, Rainbow Caverns. And now I did talk to a friend who had experienced the Rainbow Caverns, and he says it's actually quite different. But I don't know, to me it just sort of seems kind of like that, at least in my mind, what it would have been like.
It was built in 1960. This is a very slow-moving attraction. It looks like it's going to be like this fast train, like Big Thunder Mountain or something. It's not. It's nice. It's for families. It was refurbished a few years ago in collaboration with Garner Holt, who has worked also some with Disney, but has done much more, I think, with Knott's at this point. He's created so many animatronics for them. So that is something that they have worked on. And he also refurbished the log ride, which is something that we're going to look at.
Well, I think the animatronics really add to the attraction here, and there are certain areas where you're just overwhelmed. You don't expect there to be like 30 or 40 moving animatronics in one place, but we're going to see that very soon.
Well, there's about 50 animatronic humans, and there's also animals and other figures in here. So it's some of the I think some of the figures maybe don't move, so there's more figures than that. But it really is very, it's really a cool thing to see as you're going through.
So let's talk about the official description of the attraction.
Well, the attraction carries riders aboard ore cars on a realistic adventure through, and I'm just reading what Knott's calls it, dimly lit tunnels of a working gold mine. The winding journey takes passengers to underground lakes, waterfalls, caverns filled with bubbling pots and geysers.
Well, I should mention it also has an explosive finale.
Yes.
Not unlike other mine train rides we've seen in the past.
And I think it's interesting. I mean, this is really a favorite attraction of people in the Southern California area. And I think part of it also is, it's 60 years old or something like that.
It's very historic.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you have families like grandparents and parents and kids, all who can enjoy it together, who all have maybe a history of this attraction.
And didn't Walt Disney himself ride this and learn a few things from it?
Yes. I mean, he rode, from what I read in several sources, early on, and that's how he found out about, he was like, where's the queue? He didn't realize that there were guests waiting for the attraction because the way they designed the queue was inside, and he didn't see anybody at first. So that was something new, again, that's been used throughout the Disney parks as well.
Oh, yeah, look at Pandora. Talk about a lot of inside lines.
And I just want to mention that Bud Hurlbut is the one who designed this, as well as the log ride that we'll be seeing. And he, I guess, put out his own money to do that, and he earned money back on it. But it sounds like more of a contractor type relationship. Walter Knott. I want to say Knott's because of Knott's Berry Farm. Walter Knott was the one who actually owned it.
But he really believed in it, sort of like Walt Disney with Disneyland. So another little connection there.
Yes, and this is another kind of Disney connection. This is the Timber Mountain Log Ride. Tony Baxter was here opening day, as was John Wayne.
I've seen a picture of both of those gentlemen there.
And this attraction inspired Tony Baxter, and really for Splash Mountain, like the way the log goes up is something that was unique at that time. And this opened maybe 20 years before Splash Mountain did in 1969. And I guess it also inspired somewhat the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland.
This is such a fun log flume ride. I've been on many all over the country, and I would say this to be one of the best ones ever.
I enjoy it. I don't like the way the seating is. If you have like 3 people, I'm not as big a fan of
To
that.
sit together in
Yeah,
the
I
log?
don't. Yeah, I like to sit by myself.
So you're telling the Knott's Berry Farm Company to redesign their logs
I would like to
have
see-
individual seating.
I would like to see that. Disney used to have the other type. I would like to see that.
I get it. I get it.
But otherwise, I actually really enjoy the attraction. And again, the figures. This was revamped as well with the help of in partnership with Garner Holt, who is just so talented. And we've had a chance to go to his company to go look around. We have a friend who is a correspondent who works for him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I love all this kind of thing, all the how things get made.
And Tony Baxter, I guess he skipped school to be here on opening day. It was a really big deal that this was opening. And I think they even held it for John Wayne. They held the opening so that John Wayne could be there as well.
Yeah, did they not make the opening earlier than expected for John Wayne? So they had to rush to finish this thing?
I didn't look. I don't remember if it's later or earlier. I just know that they had to change it.
I see.
It was, because he was friends with Walter Knott. So I just thought that was very interesting.
So much interesting and so much history in all these attractions.
It is. And when you look online, so many people think that, like, when they look at video of this, it'll be like, oh, well, they copied Splash Mountain. But there's no way that could happen because this was 20 years earlier than Splash Mountain.
And speaking of splashes, this is my favorite part. This is the big splash. You get a great overview of all of Knott's Berry Farm, and then down you go. And at least every time I've ridden it, I've always ridden from the front row. I've never gotten that wet where I was completely drenched and my day was ruined. It's not that bad.
I don't like to be drenched on rides.
But you aren't.
I know.
And I'm always I've never ridden it not from the very front.
I've never thought of it. I don't like getting too drenched on log rides. But I just want to say, this was like really a big deal. It took them a long time, I think, to design that attraction.
Well, speaking of big deals, now we're going to move on to Knott's Chicken Dinner Restaurant.
Now, Mrs. Knott's Chicken Dinner Restaurant opened in 1934.
Oh, boy.
And this is really a favorite. Like, anytime we go to Knott's, we go here.
We've never not
Yes,
dined
no.
there when we went to Knott's.
And you'll look at the prices, and they look expensive, but really you can share a meal with 2 or 3 people.
You should.
You should.
You should share.
Jeff and I split a meal, and we still had food left over. So the meals are huge for the price. And each full dinner includes homemade biscuits, which they gave us so many of those.
Well, there's the menu right there, $21.99, and you can zoom in and look at this later or put it on pause. But there's just so much food included in the traditional dinner.
Right, including biscuits, side salad, cabbage or rhubarb, the chicken and mashed potatoes, plus dessert, which we had dessert as well.
We were very lucky to eat in the original dining room here, and there is a picture from the back of the menu, and my friend held it up, and we're going to see it there is the old dining room, and there's what it looks like now. Not that different.
He's hiding. But it was actually a tea room, and they didn't even plan to make a chicken restaurant. It was really by accident, and people love the chicken so much that they just kept adding to it.
And not just the chicken; these rolls are spectacular.
Well, they brought like a ton of them. It was with
Boysenberry, yes, which we bought a giant jar of.
We did buy
just
it.
Had some for this morning's breakfast.
I like their boysenberry jams and other items a lot.
There's a chicken soup. Highly, highly love that.
And that is one of my favorite things here. So it's just a very nice, thick, creamy soup.
You can have a meal just with the chicken soup.
Yes.
It's really, really good. Now, also, that comes with it, that this is just one person's meal here. It comes with a salad as well. Salad, nothing overly special for me, but still, you've already gotten rolls, you've gotten soup, you have a salad, and here comes the main course, 2 giant pieces of chicken, and, your mashed potatoes, your corn. I can't tell you how big that chicken is, by the way. It's bigger than it looks in this picture.
I was looking online, it said 3 pieces of chicken. We must have gotten the 2 chicken breasts or something, but it was huge pieces, and we didn't finish this. And then corn and mashed potatoes. It's very home style, very this is like the original recipe. Some things have changed, little bits have changed with the restaurant. They just refurbished it a year or two back.
Now, also they have boysenberry pie, but we went with this boysenberry ice cream. Oh boy, this ice cream was wonderful.
That was very good. I wasn't sure if I would like boysenberry ice cream, but like we both did, and it was huge. Like it doesn't look huge, but it was like 2 or 3 scoops. Like it was like a very big dessert.
And also, I would recommend the boysenberry drink as well.
Oh, that's right. You had gotten that. I forgot, and it was also
Punch,
refillable.
boysenberry punch, refillable just like a Diet Coke. Oh boy, so good. Now we're going to move on to the Wagon Camp, a very historic venue to see Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, a very big Disneyland connection there. They were formerly known as Billy Hill and the Hillbillies at Disneyland for almost 20 years.
And this, there we are in the stagecoach, like we sat in an
a coach.
Yeah, and I guess it's a real old coach, and so that was actually very nice because you're kind of above everybody. But Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, they played at Disneyland for like 20 years.
As I said, almost 20 years.
Right, a long time. I used to see them back in the late 90s. I was such a big fan of theirs. I am still a big fan of theirs. So it was really, every time that we get to see them at Knott's Berry Farm is very exciting. Knott's tends to have a lot of entertainment. Not all the entertainment plays every day. I think Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies were every day during the Boysenberry Festival, but then it might be more weekends, so you can check online for different days.
Right, you can check on their Facebook. They do definitely post their schedule. This is one of my favorite segments of the Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, the train thing.
I always enjoy that. I will say, if you've ever seen Billy Hill and the Hillbillies at Disneyland, it is not exactly the same show. It's very similar, but I would say it relies a little less on constant comedy. There is comedy throughout, but it's different.
Yeah,
and
it's a very
more musical.
high-class show, of course. No physical comedy at all would ever be used in a Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies show.
So, the first time I saw them at Knott's after they had left Disneyland, I cried. I was like, I couldn't believe I got to see them again because it was so disappointing to me that I thought maybe I'd never see them as a group.
Well, and that was when they were playing in the more intimate Birdcage Theater. But this was filled. It was packed. This is, they really need a bigger venue. The Birdcage was too small for them, probably.
Right. And I just want to say, it's not like there's no comedy. Obviously, there's comedy. It's just,
I couldn't resist that.
There's a lot of, it's really based a lot more on music with a fair bit of comedy as opposed to like a comedy act with some music, which is the way it's sometimes felt before.
Well, he does a lot of Elvis impersonations during the show, and they'll do the Beatles. They'll do all different kinds of music, throughout. And all the shows are often different.
Right.
No 2 shows are the same, so it's it's worth going to multiple sets.
I do love it, and so if you're heading to Knott's Berry Farm and you want to see Crazy Kirk and the Hillbillies, or if there's somebody else you want to see that will be playing, check their schedule. I'm not sure exactly how far out, but before your trip so that you can know for sure you're going to see who you want to see.
And we're looking at this theater where you're seeing them play. Originally, this opened as a musical theater. It was designed for music. Now it's a stunt show. And here we're talking about the theater, and you can sort of see the wagons that we were sitting in the background. You should really get there very early if you want to sit in the wagon.
And there they are.
Yes, they were out and about, and we got to meet them again. So very exciting. Look at how happy. Look at that nice smile.
I just love the show. And
I love Knott's. I had such a great time. I can't wait to go back.
Maybe we'll go back in June.
Yeah, maybe we will.
I would love that.
So now let's talk about the Edison. We're going to jump over to Disney Springs back at Walt Disney World.
Yes, and the Edison opened on New Year's Eve, and it is, in the nighttime, it is 21 and up. But during the daytime, they do have lunch. And since we were here, this was about 2 months ago at least, the menu is similar, but it seems they've probably added a few more items.
1 or 2 items, not a lot.
At
now,
least.
when you mention 21 and over, I don't believe that starts until 10 o'clock.
That's what I was saying,
so
evening.
Later at nighttime.
I think, for me, family time, the best time to be here with a family would be for lunch.
Right.
It's quiet. It was just a very, very nice experience, I felt. And I don't think they had the French dip when we were there, or else I probably would have gotten that. But
no, that was one of
really
the new items that was added since we were there.
I just remember feeling like the menu was fairly small, but then I just looked at the menu online, and a number of more items items have been added, so it doesn't feel as small anymore.
So I should say the location of the Edison is the former Pleasure Island, and in the former Pleasure Island, the former location of the Adventurers Club.
And you kind of get that feel, although it's totally different. It has more of a steampunk vibe. It's supposed to be like an old power plant from the 20s. And it's actually a very, like looking at it, you don't know what to expect during the day, but it's actually a very nice location. Like we had a business lunch for like 2 hours, and it was just, for me,
extremely relaxed.
It
It
was
had great, excellent service. Everything about it was, as you said, perfect.
And so, if you have a chance to come here, it is attached also to Maria and Enzo's, which is the Italian restaurant. We talked about brunch there, and that has changed a little bit since we've been. And there is also Pizza Ponte, which is a counter service location, as well as Enzo's Hideaway, which looks very interesting. We've toured it twice, but we have not yet actually dined at either Pizza Ponte or Enzo's Hideaway.
And I like the way that Denise says "yet," because we plan to
Eventually.
try all of these places as time permits. Let's start off finally with some of the food. Here is the deviled eggs. I do like their presentation here. And speaking of presentation, the candied bacon.
Well, the candied bacon, it's actually clothesline candied bacon is what we're looking at. It isn't inexpensive, but it was really, it's very Instagram worthy. It's delicious. So it makes for a nice appetizer. It's actually probably, I don't know if it's the most popular appetizer here, but it's certainly the one that I see the most online.
And I like the pickles. It came with pickles too.
Oh,
I don't know if you're not a pickle
Mm-mm.
fan. And we had some entertainment at our table to help with our Instagrammability of the candied bacon there.
So it was, you know what? It was a lot of fun. It was nice having, you had, I will call it like streetmosphere.
Yes,
is what
very
it was
much
like.
so.
But he was really entertaining. You can see he was showing us kind of it was almost like a little electricity trick or something.
Well, it was very themed towards our location. And I know at some point we all had to hold hands. And when the last person touched his hand, the light lit up. So the complete electrical circuit was formed.
Right. So, it was actually very funny. It was very interactive. Like we were all joking with him and everything. I didn't realize to what extent until like we're just, listening to it again. And it was, he was really very good. Like we were just saying all kinds of stuff to him.
Well, I think part of it was because there was a very uncrowded day. We got extra entertainment. And now the important stuff, the entrees. I had the Tesla shrimp Cobb salad, and there it is there. You cannot see the shrimp. It's kind of hidden underneath all the salad, but that was really good.
And this is the chopstick chicken salad, and that has Napa cabbage, greens, Granny Smith apple, and some other items on it. And that looked pretty good too. But I was more in a burger mood.
So let's hear about this. Let's hear about this Edison burger.
You know what? It was a really good burger, and the fries actually were excellent too. If you're on Walt Disney World property, a lot of times the fries are just so. Unless you're going over to like Cook's at Dublin or
I
a
remember
few other places.
I tried some of these fries. I
They
like
were
a
really
nice
good.
thick fry like that, and I thought that was very good as well.
I wasn't really in a salad. I don't usually do salads for entrees except sometimes at home. So it was a very nice burger.
But all in all, I thought it was a great time. Very relaxed, nice atmosphere, and I would love to go back at nighttime and see what it has to offer.
The later it gets, I guess the more interesting it gets. But we have not been over there at night yet. So maybe one of these days.
So now we're going to jump all the way across the Atlantic to Disneyland Paris, and this is our vintage segment, vintage meaning 2014, and we're going to look at a character experience that used to occur.
Well, this was called Descent of the Stairs, and this was something that happened, I think it was daily at the Disneyland Hotel in Disneyland Paris, and we were here for an Inventions brunch on this day. It was actually themed to Mary Poppins, so you'll see here Mary Poppins and Bert, and we'll see penguins, and Duffy will be dressed in his Mary Poppins attire, although Mickey and Minnie were not dressed in Mary Poppins attire for this part of it. But anyway, you can see the different characters, and Geppetto.
Yeah, I don't know how he fits in on this story.
I don't know, but you have a variety of different characters. Also, you have Pluto up here. We'll see Goofy. And what happens is, like right now, you're hearing the song Zippity Doo Dah, and they're coming down the stairs relatively pretty slowly, actually. It's just a kind of a stroll down the stairs. And this, I mentioned, this is at the Disneyland Hotel. The Disneyland Hotel is sort of like our Grand Floridian. It's not exactly like the Grand Floridian, but this is their flagship hotel.
And this was a free event that took place in the lobby of the hotel. And Goofy makes me nervous. It almost looks like he's going to go over the boards there. But I thought it was a very nice thing to do, although it made it very crowded in the lobby. So I can understand why they eventually had to do away with it.
And I believe this was around 4 p.m. and you see Minnie Mouse up there. And toward the end, it was like 4 days a week. I thought before that it was more than that. We each, again, just saw this once. This was our first trip together, and before that, I hadn't been to Disneyland Paris in a number of years. So it was really good. I'm glad that we got to see this once before it stopped. But I enjoy the Disneyland Hotel anyway, and sometimes we get to see the characters in there, and but not the Descent of the Stairs anymore.
What was interesting to me is this is one of the first times that I ever saw Duffy interact with the classic characters like Mickey and Minnie. So I found that to be, and speaking of Mickey and Minnie, here comes the big cheese now.
Well, Duffy we had just seen by himself up until then, and here he is hugging Minnie and Mickey. And we had seen them over at Inventions, and I know we're going to show a picture at some point.
Yeah, that was our very first time doing the Inventions brunch, which still happens every Sunday, and it is spectacular.
And you have to book the Inventions brunch really ahead of time because it's so popular, and they don't tell you anymore who the characters will be ahead of time. So it's going to be a surprise. It's a themed brunch, like we've done a variety of different themes now. I always enjoy the Inventions brunches.
And here they are. This, after the descent of the stairs, the characters kind of linger around in the lobby for little meet and greets. There is no specific line, really. It's more of a wandering type of a deal.
And it's kind of interesting. You see Mickey kind of being brought through there, and nobody cares. Like, nobody's looking at him. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
like,
very different.
Like here, it'd be like, Mickey. Like, but
well,
that
you
was
have people in the
unusual.
lobby also trying to do business
Right.
while all this is going on.
But they were kind of watching the event, so I just thought that was interesting. But you see really relatively short lines for the characters compared to what you might find elsewhere. Minnie is very popular, though. Look at her.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And but I love the resort, and I just want to mention also, I said this was like Disney's Grand Floridian Resort in a sense. And then you have the Sequoia Lodge, which is similar to like Disney's Wilderness Lodge. And then the Newport Bay Hotel is very similar to Disney's Yacht and Beach Club. So there are a number of resorts that have that are similar to other ones there.
And here is our picture with a whole bunch of the characters from the Inventions brunch. And I think that is just awesome.
And I don't know how that happened. It can be hard to get that many characters in one spot, so I don't even know how.
It's one of those right place at the right time deals, really. You just happen to be walking by.
That's usually if we know somebody and they can, help round a few characters up, but that was very nice.
Anyway, that is another show.
That's another show.
We appreciate everybody listening, and we want to thank our sponsor, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel.
Yes, thank you, and check them out for all of your, especially your travel needs this year, because there's so much going on. We mentioned Pixar Fest at Disneyland. They have a fantastic Halloween at Disneyland now. I'm assuming it's going to be like last year, and that was one of the best Halloweens we've had. Disneyland Paris usually has a fantastic Halloween. We have Toy Story Land opening. Just so much happening everywhere.
And this is just the beginning. I mean, we have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opening next year at Disneyland and here at Walt Disney World. It was confirmed it'll open by the end of 2019.
Well, they've said that before, so hopefully that will be the case. I mean, things change, but I think Disneyland's is still supposed to open first, and I do think they'll open next year, so hopefully ours will as well.
And we have the Tron roller coaster. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster.
Ratatouille is coming.
All sorts of goodness.
I want to call it the Great Mickey Ride, but it's not. The Runaway Railway, Mickey's Runaway Railway over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. I mean, there's like so much coming in the next 3 years, and a lot to look forward to. And definitely check out MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel, and we have a lot to look forward to on other shows as well. I'm not even sure what's coming up next, but we're going to be talking about Disneyland Paris in a few weeks from now, not just about Descent of the Stairs, but Fan Days and Marvel Summer and, Pirates and Princesses, not as much because Axel's already covered that, but there's a lot to look forward to.
So anyway, thanks again for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a great week.